Before we start our functions unit, I'm going to kind of review some of our function terminology and in general how it relates to the coordinate plane. So when we have our coordinate plane, we have two axes. We have a horizontal axis and a vertical axis, okay? Our horizontal axis is called the x-axis, right? And our vertical axis is called the y-axis. And the point of intersection of those two axes is called the origin, which is where everything starts, right? We talk about a coordinate point having an x and a y value. The x value always comes first, and that's the horizontal location, all right? If it's positive, we go to the right from the origin, and if it's negative, we go to the left. And as far as the y value, if it's positive, we go up, and negative, we go down. All right, so our point of our origin is the point 0, 0, where both x and y are equal to 0. Our coordinate plane is divided into 4 quadrants, which go counterclockwise. So this is quadrant 1, quadrant 2, quadrant 3, and quadrant 4. Now, as a reminder, the x and y value is always positive in quadrant 1. And if you go into quadrant 2, x is negative and y is positive. Here, in quadrant 3, both x and y are negative, and in quadrant 4, x is positive, but y is negative. So as an example, I'm just going to go ahead and draw kind of a, if I have the point -3, 2, that means I'm going to start at the origin and go 3 units to the right, or to the left, I'm sorry, and then go 2 units up from there. So 1, 2, so that would be our point, -3, 2. Okay? Now, when we talk about the vertical line test, when we're talking about whether or not something is a function, it's a set of relations or points, we're going to take a look at graphs and whether or not they would pass the vertical line test. It's the easiest way to look at a relation. So, for example, if we have a line that has a positive slope, if I were to draw a vertical line through any point on that graph, I would only hit that graph one time. So that one would be a function because it passes the vertical line test. But what if I was looking at a graph that was something like, I don't know, like this? So now, if I drew a vertical line through this graph, I would hit the graph more than once. So that is not a function because it does not pass the vertical line test. Okay, so that's when you're looking at a graph, the easiest way to tell whether or not a relation is a function is by using the vertical line test. And the vertical line test says that if you can draw a vertical line through any point on the graph and only hit the graph once, then it is a function. So every line except for a vertical line would be considered a function. Okay? So, and the reason why a vertical line would not be considered a function is, let's take a look at it. A vertical line is right here, and if I drew another vertical line through this graph, I hit this graph infinitely many times. So that is not a function. That doesn't mean that we can't graph it. That doesn't mean that we can't talk about it, but is not considered a function. Okay? And a function in plainest terms is that for every x values there's only one unique y value for every x value. So when you're looking at a relation, the x values cannot repeat and have different y values. Y values can repeat all they want. All right. Why is that? Well, let's look at this. If you looked at a horizontal line, which is the simplest one where your y values repeat, this is an equation of a line. Let's say that every y value here is 4. Okay, so y is equal to 4. So at every point on this graph, so let's say this is the point 2, this is 2, 4, and this is 0, 4, and then this is negative 2, 4, right? Every single one of these points, do you see that these y values can repeat? But here, each x value has only one y value. It's okay if they're all the same, because it still passes the vertical line test.